Hello students, welcome to the 52nd session of White Sargasso Sea. In this particular session, we will understand about the major characters in the novel. We will try to sketch out the major characters now. The first and foremost of the most important character happens to be the protagonist, Antoinette. She is the daughter of an ex-slave owner and the story's principal character, based on the mad woman Bertha from Charlotte Bronte's Gothic novel Jane Eyre. Antoinette is a sensitive and lonely young Creole girl who grows up with neither her mother's love nor her peers' companionship. In a convent school, as a young woman, Antoinette becomes increasingly introspective and isolated, showing the early signs of her inherited emotional fragility. Her arranged marriage to an unsympathetic and controlling English gentleman exasperates her condition and pushes her to fits of violence. Eventually, her husband brings her to England and locks her in his attic, assigning a servant woman to watch over her. Delusional and paranoid, Antoinette awakes from a vivid dream and sets out to burn down the house. The second important character here happens to be Annette, Antoinette's young and beautiful mother. Annette is the second wife, first to Alexander Cosway and later to Mr. Mason. The white Jamaican woman ostracized Annette because of her beauty and outsider status. She is originally from Martinique, a disembodied presence throughout the book. Annette shows signs of madness and melancholy in her daughter's earliest recollections. Often the subject of gossip, she feels abandoned and scared and persecuted. After the fire, Mr. Mason leaves Annette in the care of a black couple who reportedly humiliate her and mock her condition. Annette dies when Antoinette is at the convent school. Third important character happens to be that of Mr. Rochester. Rochester, Antoinette's English husband, who, though never named in the novel, narrates at least a third of the story. Rochester, the youngest son of a wealthy Englishman, travels to the West Indies for financial independence, as his older brother will inherit his father's estate. When Rochester arrives in the Spanish town, he comes down with a fever almost immediately. He is pressured into marrying Antoinette, although he has only just met her and knows nothing of her family. He soon realizes the mistake he has made, and when he and Antoinette honeymoon on one of the Windward Islands. Eventually, they abandon the Caribbean lifestyle Rochester has come to abhor. They move back to England, where he locks his deranged wife in an upstairs garret. Fourth important character happens to be that of Christophine, a servant given to Annette as a wedding present by her first husband, Alexander Cosway. Christophine, like her mistress, comes from Martinique and is therefore treated as an outsider by the Jamaican servant woman. A wise and ageless figure, Christophine is loyal to both Annette and her daughter, and she exercises an unspoken authority within the household. Christophine practices obeah, a Caribbean black magic, with which she tries to help Antoinette regain her first husband's love, and then ultimately helps her to regain her sanity. The next important character happens to be that of Mr. Mason, one of the elegant English visitors who visits Antoinette's mother at Colibri Estate. Mr. Mason is a wealthy Englishman who comes to the West Indies to make money. Captivated by his second wife's beauty, he intends to become even more prosperous by restoring Colibri. He is confident in his authority to control the servants, believing them harmless and lazy, and dismissing his wife's fears of revolt. Mr. Mason effectively abandons Annette and her daughter after the fire. Another important character that we see in the novel happens to be that of Aunt Cora. She is a widow of a prosperous slave owner. Aunt Cora lives alone in Spanish Town. Unlike Antoinette's own mother, Annette, Cora matures and cares for Antoinette and eventually enrolls her in a convent school. But eventually, Cora too abandons Antoinette when she moves to England for a year. On her return, Cora tries to ensure Antoinette's financial independence by giving her a silk pouch and two of her treasured rings. Ill and in bed, Cora tells her niece that she does not trust Richard and that she fears that the Lord hath forsaken them. Another important character happens to be that of the Alexander Causeway. Antoinette's deceased father, Alexander Causeway, was a debased ex-slave owner known for fathering illegitimate children, squandering the family's money, and drinking himself to a stupor. His family lived on Jamaica for several generations as detested plantation owners. According to his bastard child, Daniel, madness ran in their genes. By the time Mr. Causeway died, leaving his second wife and their two children on their own, the Emancipation Act had led to the ruin of his sugar plantation and the end of his future. Now, the characters that we just read about are the most important characters in the novel. In the next section, we shall see the minor characters who also play a very important role in the plot. Thank you.